I'm a bit buggered. We've been playing the beginning of the new season, and I'm getting a bit too old for all this. Honestly, I keep telling myself that, and yet when we get down to it, there we go. The season starts, and I'm away, and I'm switched off from the rest of the world, and that is fantastic until it's finished, and then it's hit the wall time. And so I think that means it's probably time for me to have a little yarn with you guys about what's coming up next, what I've been up to in game. Maybe there's a few hints and tips in there. Maybe you just want to laugh at my failures or share my successes, of which there are probably a few. And generally just sort of carry on with family that's watching SilkWing plays. Thank you very much for the people who are supporting this. This is fantastic. I am going to ramble a little bit. Hopefully I'm going to bring you some news about upcoming features in the game, what we have got coming, what we thought we might have, but it's probably been delayed a little bit. So we'll try and bring you up to date with some of that, and while we're at it, I'll carry on playing through the game for a little while. So without too much further ado, we'll get rid of this lovely screen we've got here, or this green and blue thing that I could gaze at for ages. And probably we're just going to, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go in and first of all, something I never really noticed before is that in this lovely screen here in the operations tick, we can spin that little wheel around the middle there. Isn't that fantastic? I know these are the stupid things that I do when I've been awake for sort of, the last 20 hours out of 24 playing this damn game that I love so much. Anyway, we'll get back to where we are, where we're supposed to be. This is me. I'm here in the middle somewhere. I landed, I must say, in an absolutely plum position right here on the border of cryonics, I think it's called. And that basically means no one spawns here. No one spawns in this area. It's probably something that the devs might want to look at in the future, but certainly generally you start off in this middle region. The next overflow region for Arcos is normally Vorthal. They'll throw a few people in there, and yeah, I kind of hit the jackpot here. So I'm having a bit of a field day and trying to make sure that I leave some stuff for everyone else. So Farmer Silk is in the house at the moment, doing really rather well. Got some new ships, well, not new ships to play with, but ones I haven't really played with before, one of which is the Moonveil. So I've really kind of steered clear of that because everyone was using it, and I wanted to be, the odd one out, I guess. I'm not sure why that is. Just part of my nature. I like to try new things or something different. But I thought, well, this time this is different for me, so I decided to plonk in and have a little go with Mivar, and it's actually really, really a great addition to my early PvE farming escapades, which everybody else knows already. I know this, but that's just part of my unique character, I think. Anyway, so we've got basically been using Starweaver. As always, that's fantastic for early PvE. Sunder is just still the queen of early PvE. We've got Moonveil in there. Astaroth's doing okay. Basically what I've concentrated on is these three at the top here for my early PvE. One or two others, there's some called that kind of also rans in the PvP department, like the Hammerhead. Well, I think, actually just got this one up to Mastery Level 5. This is my first Epic or Legendary ship that I actually got up to Mastery Level 5. Yes, I'm kind of reasonably poor, it must be said, but somebody very kind bumped me up a little bit, so I had lots of Mastery Level 3s for the last season. And I'm running Astaroth. I'll be running that in game because that surprised me in the last season, so I thought I'll actually try and mainline that properly. Mainline, that's probably the wrong word. Words fail me when we're in this sort of sleep deprived state. Overlord will run. That was quite successful last time round. Of course, Cypher will bring that up shortly, and Paladin, I think I'd like to have a pop with Machina this time. I've not really run it before. People were saying good things about it, so we'll have a little look at that in this season. We've only got 3 weeks. I don't know how much PvP we're actually going to get, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully we'll get some. We have got one of the new features coming up to have a look at, which we'll talk about fairly shortly, but we'll just run through very briefly kind of where I started, how we started out, and how we built up from there. So here we are. This was where we started, on the border, as we said. This time round I actually started off with taking level 40 tile as my first main tile, and I've not done that before. Usually I'm a little more cautious. This time round it's 3-week season. It's really just for trying stuff out. We're not looking at getting any great season objectives sorted out, so I figured, right, why not? Let's just ping straight in for a 40. I know there's probably some guys out there with huge mother loads of legendary officers who are just diving straight into 60s and 90s maybe, and not so here. And then there's others who probably only start on 10s or 15s, but I thought, like, we'll stretch ourselves a little and see what we can do. And we kicked off with initially with the Star Weaver and Sun. Those soon ran out of fuel, so we popped onto the Astaroth, the Hammerhead and the Overlord. Now I knew the Hammerhead from last season was actually going to be sort of vaguely okay in early PvE, and so we brought those in. The Overlord's not too shabby, until we kind of ran into, I think it was a level 130 tile, and wiped out half the hangar trying to take that. It was one of those kind of like, well, I've already knocked it down halfway, so what could possibly go wrong? We'll send another ship in, and then another ship in. Finally we got that, and then regretted it for the next hour or so while probably doing the dishes and things, trying to fabricate some new units up. So that was a bit of an oopsie moment, but not the biggest one. The biggest one, sadly, was when we actually hopped in and built the wrong barracks at the beginning. Went into Ograx, and yeah, we kind of got a little bit confused between the Serpent here and the Chimera here, and build up the barracks, build a bunch of these serpents, and well, I've still got quite a few of them left, so they're getting used to pathing a bit at the moment, and so that was a bit of a setback, and probably wasn't rectified until sometime this morning. Bearing in mind here in New Zealand it's we're 11:32 at night. So we fixed that over the course of the day, and now we've got a few of these chimeras out there. We can actually started taking some of the big tiles, and that's what we did. And we spread out for basically just further up here, northeast, out of everyone else's way, because it's kind of, I knew when I started here there was no one else around, and now it's just chocker. And so we've got Stimmel's just landed here next to me, Vader, and kind of, Stimmel's great. He'll fend for himself. Vader's done well. We helped Vader out recently, just get him 260, because it's good to be decent neighbours. Talking of decent neighbours, where is she? She's around here somewhere. Shadow Weaver. That's I just work here down in the Nova Discord, and a big shout out to her. Basically, she works for free. She's a community member, just a player like the rest of us, but does this huge amount of work running that Nova Discord. So, if there's anyone out there that's given her grief, stick up for her, please, because she's just doing this job for free and trying to help everyone out. So I've seen a few people give her grief. Pack it in. It's not required. She does this for the love, like the rest of us. No, there's nothing involved for any of us. We just want to be involved in a really good community and a good game. So anyway, that was that. And just not too long ago, somewhere around here, and I've got no idea where it was, I think we actually took our first 300. Where are we? 300s outposts there, and we took that, and I was very happy about that, and probably still got the Star Weaver sitting on there, and for very little loss, which was surprising, because I was expecting a few things to go wrong with that, like the evil corruptor. But anyway, we took that, and that's where we are now. So that's kind of a very brief overview of where things have gone a little bit wrong in some senior moments in my life, and that happens. And now we need to kind of talk about what we've got that's new. One of the first things that comes up, and I have to do this, and it was I just working that pointed this one out to me. Limited time offers. Look at this. Shame. We need to de-sin terror. The evils of terror must be de-sinned. Somebody, I don't know who did the QA here, I think tasks is off at the moment or something, but what is the destiny of terror? We are going to de-sin it. It's already de-sinned. We got Arcos living next door. We shall treat their evil corruption. So, anyway, I did promise one of the devs that I was going to take the piss out of that, so there we go. Otherwise, what are our thoughts on these things? Well, I did have, when I first saw these come up, I was straight on the keyboard. I was incensed, to be perfectly honest, the fact that you can actually purchase legendary officers in here. and I just don't think that's the way to go with a game like this. But I was assured that in fact these will be few and far between, and they will be different officers at different times, and very much a kind of fixed one. So hopefully it's not, it's going to give the big spenders something to spend on, but not a huge advantage. And these will be few and far between. They will be put in at very specific times within a season or within a game. And even this, this early advantage, I mean, who's not really spending much on the game is going to want to spend this $18.99 on this kind of one requisition order and gold here that's worth what, 2,900 overall in fuel. No one who's a low level spender's doing that. You're going to go in and you're going to buy more gold for less money up here with the bonus amounts. This is purely in there for the big spenders too. It's for the fuel pack to get an extra one instead of your one limit a day. So let's not kid anyone about that. It's not complete bullshit, but we've been promised that it's not going to happen too often. So I guess it's just a kind of need to generate a little more revenue out of the people who are actually going to spend some money on it anyway. So those are my thoughts. I don't like it much, but I suppose it's necessary here to keep people interested who are spending the hard-earned cash on the game. So that's one of the things. The next thing we need to probably talk about is this idea of a PvP arena that's been put up. Now, there's some background to this. Basically, the dev team, or certainly one or two of the dev teams, they've been around for a few years. Not denigrating them in any way with that, but they've trawled through many different games and their own experiences of games and said, look, hey, in these Geostrat style war games, there's not really much in terms of events and other things going on for people to do. I mean, and certainly the guys in Rise to War, you'll know that you used to have some events, and most of them were a pile of turd, frankly. There were a few fun ones, like the garden thing. I think some people liked the cooking thing. It wasn't really my thing at all. The Heart of the Hero one was great every weekend, being able to get some officers, and I do wish that it was gear in there, it would be officers in here. I do wish they'd put something like that in here. That would sort of significantly help out the free to play and lower spend players, and the higher spend ones would not necessarily be interested because they're just they can buy their way out of not having to do that. So I think that would be useful to have something in there, a weekend event where you can get yourself like a guaranteed almost epic officer as a minimum. But in terms of events, one of the big things they came up with was these kind of battle arena games that are sort of on the sideline of grindy type games or other more cartoony type war games. And that's what we've got coming up for us now. What it looks like, I don't know. I've got no idea. But what I do know is that it's been put up so that it will balance things. And one of the things that has been talked about, and I'm not sure if it's in there or not, is the fact that there will be sort of damage bonuses and defense bonuses for lower level players in the not in the rankings, but sort of spend, if you like, or strength of their outfits, and they will be able to compete reasonably well on a footing with those who have got a sort of higher strength accounts. And so I don't know how they've managed to do this or what they're thinking about. There was some talk where we were throwing around ideas, certainly when I was chatting with the guys, about actually introducing that into the main game. So that might be quite interesting, but it would be in a more limited format for PvP, because obviously you don't want to penalise people who are funding your game, but you do want everyone to have a fun gaming experience. So it's about finding the balance. So we get to test out that idea certainly through this PvP arena. I'm assuming it's not going to be like a mini map where you're fighting against someone with multiple armies. It's probably just somebody putting your army up, or three armies up, and someone else coming in and picking what they're going to fight against and so on. Really looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be great for understanding and learning builds. And The idea of it is that the rewards will probably be more beneficial to free-to-play and lower spend players than they will be to the very top end. So one would assume that means, maybe kind of just sort of epic officers or some schematics or something like that. We'll wait and see. That's coming up within the week. So that's a definite that's in here for this time round. And very much looking forward to playing that. And given that we're only 3 weeks, I think, for this season, that's probably about the best we're going to get for the PvP. So it's probably about testing that out. If they were genuinely, devs, if you are listening or watching, if you're genuinely serious about us wanting to actually get into some proper PvP in this game, it has been suggested by most of the people playing in here that you actually extend that initial 24-hour fast marching period, and I would say make that like at least a week, maybe a week and a half, to get us all basically up to speed and able to go into some kind of PvP elsewhere on the map at a decent speed and sooner in the season rather than later. Because that is actually our whole raison d'etre. That is why we're here, because we want to do that stuff. So that's another idea. Maybe someone could throw a suggestion in the Nova Discord about that. We could all go in and vote that up. If I pop in there tomorrow and no one else has done it, I'll stick it in myself. I think that would be useful, especially given it's coming up for Christmas. People don't have quite as much time to play, so you want to try and get more done in the little time that you have got to play. That's my thoughts on that one. Now, the other thing we probably need to talk about is the idea of the toggled land-based sort of fantasy, future fantasy setting that has been talked about in the Discords. As it stands at the moment, what's happening there is that most of it has been built and is ready. I think the idea is that the dev team are trying to get that that's on a new client, so that needs to get approved by both Google and Apple, and they're trying to get it ready and in for that approval process before those Google and Apple teams go away on holiday for the Christmas season. So that may or may not reach this, just thinking about those time frames. If they're trying to get it in before then, and that whole process itself takes a few days to a week, then I can't see that will necessarily be introduced into this mini 3-week season. And maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's a standalone beta that we're all going to be having a look at sometime next year. We'll just have to wait and see on that. And the other thing I'm thinking about is that, if that happens, then we've got this whole bunch of people that sort of their favourite game is finishing at the end of December, and they'll be looking for somewhere else to play early January. Will they be coming in the first week of January or spending time with family? Who knows? So maybe this little 3-week season might run an extra week or so. Just be flexible with your thoughts around this new approach to this, because we're still in this kind of test area, but we're increasingly getting closer to that whole idea of this being a kind of not finished but reasonably polished game by then. And on that note, it's really great to see in the patch notes in the various Discords that all the rear ships have been updated. Cypher's got a little bit of a nerf, but it's actually now only doing what it says in the descriptions, basically. I had a nerf to Big Game Hunter. Emberhelm is probably the most significant one where that's worked the other way round. The actual skills are now operating as described, and that's the same for a couple of the other rare ships in there. But everything's now, as far as I can see, up to date and glitch free, hopefully. I do need to test all this out. For all the rare ships, and one assumes they're working on the epics and the legendaries next, so it makes sense to do the blue rares first, because everybody's got them, and everyone's going to be using them come January if they're new to the game. So kudos to the dev team. I think they're getting things right. They're fixing all those core issues. They don't tell us much about it, and then suddenly out of the blue they've fixed everything in the rare range. That's all 8 ships, so fantastic. That's great. hopefully we might get to see Evade reintroduced fully into the game again soon, and then we might have some pursuit officers that work as well. That would be a good fix next, but certainly get those ship glitches and bugs done and out of the way. Fantastic. And then start thinking about some other things they might introduce. There's going to be huge amounts of work going into the sort of new toggled theme idea, and there's been a lot gone into the arena, and those are going to be two kind of critical pieces that we're looking forward to. So all in all, that's probably about as much as I've got to say. I will just take a quick look through my little list I made earlier because I'm so poked. We've done the patch notes, looked at the toggle theme. Will new people come? I don't know. The only other last thing I've got on my list is I'm trying to put together a sort of a build it or beat it series on the various ships that we got. 38 vids. The first one on the Cypher is up. It is still pertinent despite the fact it was made just before the patch notes came out. But it still makes perfect sense, and we won't change that. So that's me done for now. It's probably time for me to just have a little play, a little relax, and then go to bed, quite frankly, and sleep for a while. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this has brought you a bit up to date. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked it, do hit that like button. Go and get all your mates that were playing Rise to War or whatever, pull them in, not to necessarily to the channel, although that would be nice, but into the game. Really is going places. We've got a great dev team. They do listen to us. They do work on things, probably not at the pace that we sometimes demand, but then sometimes those demands can be a little unreasonable. So bring more people in, let's grow this thing up, and keep putting those suggestions in. They get looked at. There's nothing more I can say about this team other than it's been fantastic working with them. Thanks very much for watching. Love you guys. Ka kite ano.